Today's conversation is how to stop second guessing yourself. Welcome to the Functioning Overthinkers weekly podcast. Here we will discuss the healthy limits of overthinking and are reminded to not be anxious about anything, but to trust God in everything. I'm your host, Shanae Sadler. Let's play a game. Put a finger down if just today you made a decision and then 5 minutes later you're wondering, did I do the right thing? Should I go and fix it? Should I change my option? Just today. If so, put your finger down. Yeah, because we've all been there. We've all been in that loop, stuck in that mindset of, did I do the right thing? Did I make the right choice? Let's talk about it because why do we do this? What does it cost us? And how do we break the cycle? Let's start with a story time because I love a good story time. So I used to second guess a lot, and it stems from past mistakes, things that I've thought I did right or thought I was doing right, and it ended up being a total mess, a total failure, right? And because of that, most of my decisions for most of my life was rooted in fear and just the thought of, okay, well, it might go wrong. And I always almost thought about the worst case scenario. That's not a good way to live, by the way. But if we're being real for real, that's how I used to be. And it could be as small as sending a text thinking, should I put an emoji there? I know I'm angry, but I don't want it to come across as too angry, but I want them to know that I'm angry. You see how the loop of that is? It's so exhausting because you it's a simple text. You could just send a text, right? But because of it's rooted also in people pleasing, because you don't want to say the wrong thing or come across the wrong way, you start second guessing every single thing, every aspect of your life. And that's not one way to live. That's not a good way to live, I should say. And that's just one small example of second guessing. But for you, it may look differently, it may manifest differently in your life, and it may be a lot more serious than just sending an emoji or sending a text. How does that look for you? I want you to take a minute and think about the most recent decision that you had to make that you were second guessing, and how did you end up handling that? How did you end up making a decision? And or have you made a decision? Yeah. And you may come back this and you say, Shanae, well, I'm weighing the pros and the cons and I'm still thinking about it. And, I'm just getting all my ducks in a row. But the truth is, the more you ponder on something is the less action you take. Have you ever heard of analysis paralysis? You think of every single thing in the book, and because it's so much information and so much possibilities, you don't do anything. It's like having a lot of things to do around the home or having a lot of work and you go to sleep or you go play a game because your mind, your brain is too overloaded with information that you don't make a decision. And that's a real thing. Like for those overthinkers, you know what I'm talking about. And so passing it off as, oh, I'm just getting my ducks in a row is really just an excuse. Think about any decision you have to make. Think about the root cause of why you haven't made a decision yet. Is it rooted in fear? Is it rooted in past trauma, past mistakes? Is it rooted in really just people pleasing, which is along the lines of fear, right? What is it rooted in? And once you're honest with yourself and once you get to the place and uncover what that looks like, that's the only way you can really get to the root cause of what's going on. The first root cause I want to talk about is fear. And as people, one of the things that we fear the most is other people. We fear their reactions, we fear their thoughts, we fear what they may say. And at first glance, you may think, oh, is that a bad thing? And really, it's not. It's the overuse of fear that consistently causes you to not make a decision is the problem. You will have situations where you'll have to stop and think about, how does this affect my family? How does this affect my friends, the people I love the most? How does this affect my daughter, my son? Because our decisions do impact those around us. What I'm talking about, however, is if it is that you're consistently living in fear of making day to day decisions and putting your needs last, that continuous trend of doing that will cause a problem in your life soon and very soon. And it will cause you to be led by indecision. And indecision is a decision. If you choose not to boldly state that you are doing this or doing that, then you're choosing to not do that. It's still a decision. And people tend to back off thinking, hey, if I say nothing, then I don't really make a decision, right? No, you're actually still making one. So being fearful consistently and continuously is not a way to live because, again, indecision is a decision. And you have to start trusting yourself enough to know that you're making sound choices. But you know what? We have no time for fear. We have no time for fear. Fear has no place here. So that's that root cause. Let's talk about now past mistakes. That's another root cause. Because you have probably been judged poorly, people have said things about you in the past, people have passed judgment in the past, you yourself, you carry shame, you carry guilt because of the mistakes you've made in the past. You don't trust yourself. You question your own judgment. And because you question your own judgment, you think other people question your judgment as well. And you are very hesitant when it comes on to trusting your gut. You know how some people say they have a gut feeling? Your gut, you don't want that. You just want to stay far from everything that you decide, and you allow others to make decisions for you on your behalf because you trust that others have better judgment than you, especially if it's someone that you care about, that you respect their thought process and you respect what they have to say. Worse, if it's a case like that, you tend to not make decisions at all. You tend to make other people make the decisions for you, so then you can say, well, at least it's not my fault. But really, it's your fault because your indecision led to having them make the decisions for you. So you're still making a decision. You see the mind play that we have on ourselves. We tell ourselves that, hey, if we don't do anything, we don't make a decision. Or if we allow someone else to make the decision, it's not us making the decision. But it ultimately leads to anything that moves you to do something or not do something, that is a decision. So those two root causes are the ones that I want to highlight today, because fear and past mistakes really fuels any other root cause. It really set the pace for other things. And once you can uncover those two root causes and see where that stems from, why am I repeating these things? Why do I have a fear? Why do I allow past mistakes to keep me bounded? You have to learn to forgive yourself. You have to learn to really shed some of the heavy weight that you've been carrying for years upon years upon years. And you start doing that by making decisions, trusting yourself over and over and over again, and give yourself the same grace that you give other people. Give yourself the same respect that you give other people. Once you start to pour in yourself and to love on yourself and to realize that you are that person, then your thoughts and your wishes and your needs, they climb to the top, and you start to respect them more, and you start to speak boldly, and you start to make more decisions. And when you really, really, really look at it, you know what's the wildest part about all of this? Most times it's not even that deep. It really not deep, you know? It's just what we tell ourselves, what we put in our minds, what we think others are thinking. It's really not that deep. But as overthinkers, we think everything is deep. But I'm here for you, because how do you break this cycle? It happens little by little. Nothing happens overnight. There is nothing wrong with you that you need such fixing, but it is something that you need to change. It is something that is not really healthy for you to keep practicing, because it will lead to exhaustion. It will lead to being stressed out. It will lead to not being fulfilled in life. Here are 2 tips to help you from second guessing. So the first one is to let past failures be past failures. They're in the past for a reason. I'm not saying that you can't use what happened as better judgment for next time, because that is what we need to do. But don't let it hinder you, cripple you from actually making future decisions. Let it be in the past. Forgive yourself, move on. Move on. You can't allow past hurt, people who you've, associated yourself with, to still have that hold on your life, to still have that say so in your life. I rebuke that on your behalf. Do not allow past people to be in your future. If you cut them off for a reason, let them stay where they're at. Past is past. Let past failures be past failures. So that's one. Two, think about the best case scenario. I did a podcast on this a while back. Think about the best case scenarios. What can happen? What can result of this? I can either be this way or that way. Think about the best way. Think about the great possibilities. Instead of thinking about, oh, this can no. Think about what can possibly happen and live in that moment. Live in the faith moment. Live in the bigger possibilities. Think positive. I didn't say to think naively. I'm saying think positively. There is a difference. When you live in a state of delulu, that's different than living in a state of positivity. You've already weighed the pros and the cons. You've already know what could possibly result in the negative. You already know that. But choose to live in the positive even after you've weighed all your pros and the cons. And also, here is unpopular opinion. Second guessing is not just a you thing or an overthinking thing, it's also a trust thing. You don't believe that there is a higher power than you. You believe that you are you led, that no one is leading you, and that your decisions aren't being guided. And the trust that is within you to make decisions, you don't trust that trust, because that trust comes from a place where you think it's innate, but really you are given the freedom of choice. And if you're a Christian, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that God gave you free will. And if God is able to give us free will, then he's guiding our will, right? And we have to believe and trust that he is there. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. So when you truly believe that and you understand what that verse means, you know that second guessing is not just a you thing, but it's that you don't trust any higher power. You don't trust that there is someone bigger than you guiding you throughout life. And that is another root cause or unpopular opinion. So, what do we want to do moving forward? Any other decisions that you have moving forward, think about this podcast and think about the things that I've said. It's okay to take a step back and to weigh your pros and cons, but is it you weighing pros and cons, or are you finding excuses? That is where the truth lies. And once you really be real with yourself, then you're able to heal that inner child, heal that wounded child that needs to forgive themselves, that needs to let go shame and guilt, that needs to heal abandonment wounds, that needs to heal people pleasing, that needs to be healed from validation, and to trust the free will that was given to us. And as always, thank you for joining in. And until next time, stay functioning. You are bomb.com.